Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 139 today. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going, Tamir?
So this is it's a bit of a weird Friday because next week is obviously the big week of you can't even, when you talk about Samsung, it like goes beyond just being a big week for Android, right? Like it's just a big week in general for tech next week. Because Samsung, you could put them almost up there with Apple at this point, right? Like when Samsung releases something, it's a big event, it's a big deal, just like when Apple does it. But anyway, so next week, yes, is Galaxy S8, S8 Plus launch week. We'll talk about that a little bit. Tim and I also reviewed the LG G6 a week or so ago. Sorry, we didn't do a show last week. We had this massive storm in Portland where power was out, my internet was out. There was just no way it was going to happen. But anyway, we want to catch up, talk about G6 final thoughts. But there's other stuff. I've got a G5 Plus in house that I've been testing. T-Mobile is about ready to become a serious network. Lots of stuff going on. Echo is about to be finished or something, I think. And we have a Star Wars trailer, a new one. big stuff. So anyway, let's talk about the LG G6. So God, it's been like 2 weeks now since my desk is vibrating. It's been like 2 weeks now since we, I think, did our final reviews of this. So Tim handled the written review. I handled the video review, but we both essentially came to the same conclusion for the most part. It's a really good phone, right? Like LG G6, really good phone. At the price, when you compare it to what Samsung's charging, decent there. But it's not like a phone I would just say like go buy. This should be topping your list because Samsung's doing what they're doing next week, and by all means, it should be, the S8 should be amazing. But the G6 is not a bad phone. It's a really good phone. Even that since we've reviewed it, I'm still trying to figure out like, do I like the G6? I don't know. What are your sort of thoughts now that it's been a week or so since we reviewed this thing? Like, are you missing it? Are you using it still?
I'm not using it anymore. I'm actually using the Huawei P10 for review purposes. So I've moved on already. But if you're going to feel bad for one company this year, feel bad for LG. I mean, they completely 180'd their course with from the G5 to the G6. G6, fantastic device. It's great, but Samsung's coming out with the S8, and I have a feeling that the G6 is really not even going to take a back seat to the S8, but they're going to be thrown in the trunk or dragged, behind the car by the S8 and S8 Plus, man. And that just seems to be like the way it is, and it's unfortunate, right? Because LG, they did a great job with this phone, adding the water resistance, just totally forgetting about modularity, something that didn't even work. So they righted the course.
But super premium. The cameras are solid. The big old display looks great. I mean, the overall design is nice. Has Type-C.
It's good price. You got some free goodies with it, depending on where you buy it. I mean, a free Google Home thrown in. Like that's awesome. If this was any other phone, it'd be great. But it's like, it's just bad timing, and that's really like, you can't talk about the G6 without talking about the S8 and what's to come. So unless Samsung Galaxy S8s, start blowing up or something like that, I mean, the G6 could be in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, the industry in general we're kind of at a sad place, I think. Well, I shouldn't say completely sad, because on one end we have companies that are making ridiculously good phones, right? And Samsung keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and no one else can keep up with them. So we have like tech that's advanced and it's great, but at the same time, it's sad because you have Samsung and Apple. Like you have two players. I know it's been this way for a while, but at least for a while there, also LG was kind of competing. I know it's been years for HTC, but they were there. Motorola's had its opportunities. Google tried to with the Pixel, and then they made like 10 phones, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot. But it's just unfortunate that it still all just comes back to Samsung or then an iPhone, right? Like LG just made its best phone ever, probably by a mile. I mean, it's a good phone, like metal frame. It fits in one hand, even though it has this giant display. They even threw in wireless charging. Like it kind of has everything. And then but we're all kind of like, yeah, it's good. But Samsung just did what they did.
They one-upped them pretty darn hard.
Yeah. And like, if you look at the overall packages, right? So Samsung has a newer processor in the phone. The design is obviously, this is a taste thing, a personal taste thing. But the design of the S8 just looks more futuristic, maybe even more elegant. Whatever. I don't know how to explain that over the G6. We know the camera, like they didn't even improve the camera in the S8. It's the same camera. I know they did some back end like software stuff, but it's the same shooter, right? So like that hasn't changed. Yeah, it has Type C. But it's all about like that design and display, and you have two options, right? But when you compare them on paper, they're not really that different. But yet we're still just like Samsung is gonna kill it again, and they're gonna sell record amounts of this phone. And
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, like I've said, the G6 is similar to the S8. Now you can easily make that argument. I made it not too long ago in 5 reasons why you should buy the G6. However, think about what the S8 has in in similarity to the G6, and you'll find that what Samsung does is actually a lot better at times, right? So they both have great displays, the S8 and the G6. However, the S8 has that Super AMOLED and not LCD, so the
right.
display just looks better.
Yeah, for sure, it has a better display.
Right, absolutely. The cameras, while it doesn't have dual cameras, the one that it does have probably takes better pictures. Like I can't say for certain because we haven't had the phone in house,
Right.
but from the samples I've seen, they look fantastic. I mean, the shooter in the S7, S7 Edge, all that were great, and the Note 7, all fantastic. So
Right.
it's like what Samsung does is similar to the G6 and the S8, but it's like on another level. And it's hard to say, right? Because again, we haven't had the phone, we'll have it soon, but even from the short amount of time that we spend with it in New York, it's just like, man, I got to get that thing in my hand. Like it does everything and it does it the best.
It can
So,
even be a stupid computer in a dock if you want it to be.
yeah, if you want to dex it up, dex it up. Can't do that on a G6.
Yeah, it's just Samsung now has this reputation, right? Also for just making the best stuff, which is weird because I don't know that forever they've had that reputation. Even after the Note 7 thing, like I know people still like to make their dumb bomb jokes and all that stuff, which was old like 2 days in. But you just like when Samsung releases a phone, and the funny thing too is Samsung was making cheap plastic phones right up until the S6, but ever since then, it's like you just kind of know like Samsung's making the most premium Android phone here, and they're going to throw every single thing into it they can, and they seem to have done that again, even though LG kind of just did the same thing. It's just,
Yeah.
I think it's a fascinating sort of dynamic between like, well, yeah, the G6 is fine, but the Galaxy S8's right there.
Well, I mean, it's a good sign for Android users in general, right? I mean, it's good to have so many options. Typically, that's not always the case, right? We would, if it was last year, because the G5 was so terrible, we would have shoved everyone towards an S7, S7 Edge. Now you've got choices. I would have no problem recommending the G6 to anyone. I mean, especially if they think getting a free Google Home is awesome. I mean, there's no reason not to think about the G6 unless you're mad at LG for leaving out quad DAC or, something like
Removable
that. But
battery gone. Like
yeah,
LG
removable
did
battery,
kind of, do a couple of things there that might
they had to.
irritate some of their
They had
fans.
to.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's time to let removable batteries die and all that stuff.
You
Like,
can't say that, Jim.
I know, don't
You
tell
can't
anybody.
say that.
And I see a lot of people talking in the chat talking about the fingerprint reader placement on the S8. Like, get over it, people. Come on. And it's bad, but there's so many other ways to unlock a phone now. With smart lock, depending on where you are, the phone can just be unlocked. You can hold it up to your face and use an iris scanner. Like, I don't know. It's just the fingerprint reader, while it's great, it's definitely not a deal breaker, the placement for me. It sucks.
Right.
And I will say all, 100 times over that it's terrible, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. So
No, I don't think the fingerprint location really does suck, but I think it's one of those things we'll get used to eventually, and then we just won't care. And like you said, if you set up smart lock and some of these other things, like you're probably not even gonna have to use it all that much.
I'm going to try just not using it. Like I'll try using the iris scanner.
Well, you're never gonna be able to reach the damn thing, or it's gonna give your hand a cramp trying to like get it over there.
Yeah, I'll try the iris scanner. I don't even know if I used the iris scanner at all when I had the S7, so I'll try it on the S8 and hopefully I don't burn out my retinas.
Yeah. On the Note 7, no, the Note 7 iris scanner scared the
Note
hell
7.
out of me.
Yeah.
I just remember when the first time I fired it up, there was this warning that was like, don't look too closely at it or something, like you could damage your eyes. And I was like, why am I supposed to be looking at this anyway if you're warning me that's going to burn my retinas? Yeah, so I just had a thought and then it just escaped me. I was
That's
talking
all right.
about burning retinas out.
Fingerprint reader placement.
Oh, maybe that
something.
was it. Yeah. So the G6, I actually hate the fingerprint reader on the G6. Even though it's in a rear location, I hate that it doubles as the power button
Yeah.
because I always found myself like hitting it to unlock, and then I'd want to lock, or I would double tap to wake, and then my finger would slide over, and then it would unlock, and I really just wanted to lock it. So I think the power button always should be separate from a fingerprint reader. I like rear fingerprint readers, I just don't like the way it doubles, but that was just one of my big complaints there.
And just to clear up for Eric in the chat, I'm still all about fingerprint readers, but like I'm not going to let Samsung's placement of one like dictate how I feel entirely about a phone, right? I'm not going to let it overshadow all the other great stuff that's going on with the S8.
Yeah, the placement. Look, we've for years have said how we love rear fingerprint readers over the ones on the bottom. But like last year with the Galaxy S7, it was like, yeah, we hated the front location, but it wasn't like going to ruin our entire opinion of the phone. Same thing with this one. It's in a terrible location, but it's not like that's not the story of the Galaxy S8 by any
At
means.
least, it's not the actual home button and fingerprint reader. Like that'd be pretty. If it was like a clicky home button fingerprint reader, that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah. So yeah, the G6, it's available everywhere. You can buy it. I think last Friday was launch day. Verizon got it a little bit early, but it's available everywhere now. I don't know that I've necessarily seen this big flood of like our readers picking up the G6. I know some of the guys in the chat have it. I think everyone that has the phone likes it. Like I said, like I liked the phone. It's actually still sitting right here. I like the phone. There's something, I don't know if it's missing or what it is, but I don't like love the G6. It's a fine phone, and I've switched right now. I'm testing the Moto G5 Plus, and I haven't necessarily like wanted to just run back to the G6. If anything, I just kind of want to go back to a Pixel for a while. But yeah, I don't think anyone, if they owned the G6, would be sad or disappointed or anything like that.
I don't think so either. I think I talked about it in my review a little bit, but the software, it's getting better. It's still not stock Android or anything like that, but you throw on a third-party launcher like how we do, throw on an icon pack, put on a theme for the software, and you can really tweak stuff and make it feel better. And so while I don't say like I love the G6, I definitely really like it, and I didn't have any problems using it. I wasn't crying about there not being a Snapdragon 835 or anything. I mean, the A21 was fine. Battery life is just average. It's fine. It's what I expect from any phone, really.
Yeah. The cameras, I really actually do like the dual camera thing. Sure, it looks ugly on the back, but I like the super wide shooting. I actually found myself using it quite a bit. Like that stuff I do appreciate, but I don't know that that's like adding a wide angle lens is enough to get me to, ditch my Pixel or ditch the Galaxy S8. Maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah.
It's definitely a thumbs up in my book.
Yeah, for sure. I think people own it and they'll like it. And hopefully it gets software updates faster than all of Samsung's phones. Because LG was decent last year with their updates to Nougat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they only had to update like 5 phones. So, yeah.
That is true. Yeah, the G5 wasn't exactly out there. Because I don't know did the V20 launch with Nougat? It did, right?
It did.
Yeah, so it doesn't need an update. But has it been updated since?
I don't know.
I don't really think it has been, to be honest. So yeah, our reviews are out there, full written review and video review if you want to watch those.
Yeah, written and video.
I think we've talked about this on other shows, but some of the stuff that we've reviewed in the last year, we only did a video review, and some people said, well, why aren't you guys writing up stuff? So we're trying to do more video because we want to do more video. But the big time flagship phones from everyone, they should get both. So that's why the G6 got both, written and video. Galaxy S8s will be the same way, written, video. So whichever one you want to do, that's how it'll be. It'll be like that with Pixels and whatever else. But if it's like a phone that kind of like this thing, G5 Plus, probably just a video. It is what it is. We like doing video.
Rude.
I know, sorry. All right. So Galaxy S8 launch, coming back to that, it is next week. So next Friday is the essentially global launch, right? Actually, I think it's in Korea or somewhere. No, I think I saw India. Like it was launching on the 19th or something, which seemed weird why they would be a couple days earlier than everyone else. But the actual day is the 21st, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So next Friday is Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus day. There's
Crunch.
pre-orders obviously everywhere. So if you haven't put in your pre-order, you can still do that. And I would imagine they'll probably get it to you on that day. I've seen some people talk about T-Mobile pre-order shipping already.
Nope.
Don't necessarily believe that. This happened. Well, so we should step back. So T-Mobile for a long time, if you pre-ordered phones, they actually did it with the G6 just recently. But you could pre-order phones from T-Mobile and they would ship them like almost immediately, sometimes like 2 weeks before the phone was even supposed to be out. But then last year with the Note 7, all of a sudden they didn't do that anymore. It was almost like Samsung like yelled at them and said, "You can't do that. It's not fair." I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden with the Note 7, that stopped, right? And so what we're seeing is that people are getting tracking numbers. Like we ordered some from T-Mobile. We have tracking numbers, but like that stuff's not on a truck yet. T-Mobile's telling people it'll ship probably on the 19th. So you may have it on the 20th if you're lucky, like one day early. I haven't seen anything from Verizon people or AT&T. I think I saw somebody say Sprint might be shipping also, or that could just mean the same thing, tracking number. So anyways, if you get a tracking number, you get a little excited, but until that thing's on a truck actually headed to your house, don't get too wild about it.
It's still pretty exciting though.
It is. We're getting really close. And it's like I said, it's always like a huge event whenever Samsung announces a brand new phone.
Yeah, except you don't see people lined up on the street for a quarter mile or anything like that.
Are those days over? Like, do people still do that even for Apple as much?
I think so.
Like, I know they still do a little bit, but I don't think it's the same, right? Like, I think a lot of people, like Apple's really taken on the pre-order thing.
Maybe.
I think a lot of people just get them that way. I think they still do some lines, but
sure.
Yeah. All right. So another Galaxy S8 news, though, they announced this week, subtly through the press, that Bixby Assistant that they really hyped at their Unpacked event, it won't have voice features at launch. Which I don't think it really surprises you and I. Like we were at the Unpacked event playing with all these demo units, and none of them had any voice interaction at all. And we asked the guy, like, that was there helping us, like, what's the deal? I can't get the Hello Bixby stuff to work. And he was like, I don't know. I think it's just maybe turned off. Isn't that what he said? Like, I think it's just turned off for demo purposes. It's like, and then sure enough, they announced this week like that won't be there, and it should be here this spring. And so everyone's been taking plenty of shots at Bixby, and rightfully so. I don't know that any of us want this, but it's coming, and it may be really good in like a year. I don't know. Maybe we'll love Bixby in like a year. Any chance of that happening?
I'll never love the name. Something about the name. It's really just annoying.
The name is kind of silly.
Bixby. It's kind of cute. But.
Yeah. So what's it going to have at launch then? It'll have the camera thing where you can take pictures of things and then shop, or it'll tell you if it's a landmark, that sort of thing, or scan QR codes. Right. I mean, there's like groundbreaking stuff here.
Yeah, it's just innovation.
Yeah, and it'll have the Google Now replacement. A little swipe to the right on the home screen, and you'll get the little Bixby cards set up there. And what's the other thing? It does something else too, doesn't it?
Well, it does like what, calendar stuff?
Oh yeah, it does. It'll do location-based reminders, which Google's been doing for like 4 years now.
Yeah,
I think Bixby is a waste of their energy, but if you don't have AI in your phone, then you're not. It's not 2017.
It's weird because like the S8 does have AI in the phone in the form of Google Assistant, right? And so, thankfully, we all know now that you can officially remap that hardware Bixby button to do whatever you want, including open up Google Assistant. So after reviewing the S8 and S8 Plus, however we do that, I'll definitely remap it, and probably, unless I fall in love somehow, I'll be done with Bixby.
I've looked at some of the screenshots and stuff, and even some of our stuff, our coverage from Bixby when we had our initial hands-on and stuff, and I don't see anything in there that's grabbing my attention. Like at the end of the day, it'll show like your step count. Like, I don't give a shit. And it's like there's a calendar in there. Like, okay, there's a calendar, and then like it'll tell you. I think it maybe does traffic. I'm not sure. And it'll show you some reminders. Like Google Now does this already. And the camera stuff is sort of cool, but I don't know that I'm going to find myself that often launching the camera to like take a picture of a bike that I then want to buy online. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe I will do that all the time, but just kind of weird. And if I'm going to set a reminder, I'm not going to do it through Bixby. I'm going to do it through Google.
That way it goes
It's like
off on
synced
all my
everywhere.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Bixby thing, we'll give it a fair shot, obviously, because Samsung's been very open to the fact that this thing is brand new and not anywhere close to what their vision is for it, and that it's going to take a lot of time to make it great. So we'll just play with it and see, and then yeah, like you said, when it's all said and done, we'll just remap that button to something else.
Mr. Beasley in the chat says some people use Alexa over Google Assistant. Why is an alternative so bad?
Use Alexa on what?
I don't know. Maybe on a Echo.
Yeah, but it's not on your phone.
It can be certain phones. Like if you have a Mate 9
No one has
specifically.
a Mate 9 though. Because that's only in the US, right? And no one bought the Mate 9 in the US except like 10 people because that phone's expensive.
It is only unlocked too, so there's not too many routes to get it cheaply. The point is, I think no one has a problem with an alternative. It's just like when one is so much better than the other, at least for Android users who are so involved in the Google ecosystem, you should probably just stick to that one, right? I mean, that's my opinion. Like, I don't use Cortana, and just because I mean Cortana is not linked to anything else that I have, so
Except like Outlook and Bing. Is Bing still a thing? Bing?
yeah, Bing's a thing, I
Interesting.
think.
Somebody just asked, which is going to die first, Bixby or Dex? 100% Dex. That thing will be dead in 6 months.
Really, I don't even know if it's going to be birthed.
I don't even know if it'll ever ship.
It just seems odd. I mean, what an odd thing.
Oh yeah,
like,
Dex is 100% dead on arrival. It will never be a thing.
yeah.
And if it is, that's also a waste of time. Like Samsung makes computers, right? They make Windows machines, I'm pretty sure, and Chromebooks. Like, just keep doing that. Don't what they should have done is created either a dock or an app that just does like a sort of virtual like beamed interface to a computer, not created a dock and its own computer operating system. That's just stupid. It's just a waste. Like create like a really sweet plugin or app you install on your computer that connects to your phone. They already have one. It just sucks. I can't remember what the hell that thing's called. Do you remember what the Samsung's that software is where you can like transfer photos and music and stuff? I can't remember what that's called. I don't know that anyone uses anymore because it always screws. I just never have it because it always screws up the driver situation whenever you're trying to use ADB. It's just weird. But yeah, so they have Samsung has Tizen. They use Android and TouchWiz, and now they're creating Bixby, and now they're creating a Dex operating system. What is Samsung doing?
They're diversifying.
I guess so. They're trying to obviously create their own massive software ecosystem so they can ditch Android one day, but
good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Brandon says maybe people use Cortana. No one uses Cortana.
Brandon,
Dude, get out of here. Are you crazy?
No one person in the chat, let us know if you actually use Cortana.
Yeah, the hub of people using Cortana are up in was that Redmond, Washington? So
somewhere up there.
Yeah.
Brandon asked why will Dex be dead? Because no one has any use for Dex. We all have computers already. I don't know that anyone wants to buy an extra $150 little plug-in that you hook up to a computer when you could just use your computer.
Yeah, there's no market for it, right? Like it solves a problem that doesn't exist. It's for someone who already has a Bluetooth keyboard, mouse with a desktop monitor not attached to something. Like, who does someone sound like that? Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't have the computer part of the equation already.
Right.
It just seems odd. And they market it to these what were they, like the kind of people they were, like enterprise types? Yeah. Like, I just don't know an enterprise person who doesn't have like a laptop or something like that.
Tablet or something like that. Yeah.
That just solves a problem that I don't know exists. So
right. And we've seen people do it before and it never ever catches. This could be the first time it catches on, I guess.
Alan says I think Dex will be a big hit. So let's mark Alan's word. This day, April 14th, I think.
Alan.
Yeah. Friday, April 14th. Alan said it first.
Down, Alan.
I think Dex will be a big hit, and we'll find out.
I don't even know if I want Dex to prove me wrong because I don't know that Dex is a thing that like needs to be a thing. Like, let's just use our computers. Like, if I'm going to go buy a computer, I'm never going to go, well, I'm going to go buy Samsung's Dex little dock thing. I'm not going to do that. And then because look, if you don't already own a computer, that means then you then have to go buy a $300 monitor and then buy a keyboard and a mouse and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
At that
Just buy a
point,
Chromebook.
yeah, why don't you just either buy a Chromebook because it'll do a hell of a lot more than Dex will, or go buy a really, really cheap Windows PC for like $350 because they make a lot of those. That's the thing. Like, if you already have all the peripherals, that means you have a computer. So I don't know why Dex would all of a sudden be the computer.
I love our chat.
Our chat is awesome.
They're funny people.
If Google was doing it, would it be a hit? Well, if Google was doing it, it would be Chrome. So it probably would work because you would just have Chrome OS then, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Which is like an actual operating system, not Dex. So if Google was doing it and they were doing it with Chrome OS, yeah, it would actually probably be some sort of a hit.
It's possible.
No. The chat's fired up today. We're looking at the chat a lot also today because it's just kind of a like really sleepy Friday. All right, let's see. In other SA news though, was it out of Korea? Yeah, Korea. That it doesn't appear that the Galaxy Note 7 and its issues had any sort of effect on the Galaxy S8. Because haven't they announced through Korean media that it's like basically record pre-orders for the Galaxy S8 devices?
Yeah, this is sort of interesting. Before I started on this, I wanted to talk about. I tried to do a little bit of research, right? Because this story comes from Business Korea, and because it's not an American outlet, so I was trying to find out who owns or who runs Business Korea, because there's not a lot of business in Korea, right? So you have to think about it. So Samsung equates to, I think it's like 15% of South Korea's GDP. So
like their entire economy is all Samsung.
Yeah, it's a big portion of it, right? Of course, there's LG and other companies, of course, but Samsung equates to a lot of it. So if Samsung does bad, then South Korea could do bad. So I was trying to find out, like, is Business Korea a front for Samsung? Like, where they just say good things only? But I couldn't find any information on it. Maybe someone else out there knows more than I do. But either way, they're saying that the S7, big numbers. Huge. S8, huge numbers. Thank you.
Huge.
Yeah, huge. What did they say? That it was the pre-orders came in over a 2-day period. 550,000 people put their money down. Just in Korea, just in South Korea. So pretty impressive, and that killed every other previous Galaxy phone that's been out. The Note 7 figures were also huge. Those were record-breaking for Samsung. That was 400,000.
Yeah, I remember when the Note 7 came out, and it like broke all the records. Like it beat the S7 and S7 Edge, and remember the Note 7 is always supposed to have been like the other phone, but last year was like the Note 7 kind of became like the phone, and then obviously that issues. But yeah. So the fact that Samsung just keeps crushing it every time they release a new phone that should be scary for the rest of the industry.
Yeah, especially when you have LG in the same country. I'm curious, but we don't hear those types of numbers from LG, and
we didn't hear like the G6 had record pre-orders or sales or anything, which is kind of sad.
You don't hear that from anybody besides Samsung.
Because nobody else has anything like good to report back, unfortunately.
Yeah, HTC.
I wish it wasn't that way. I wish everyone was just like rolling in money and saying like records. That would be great.
That'd be huge. HTC had launched a phone, and then it was released in America. They didn't even really announce it. So, I mean, that kind of goes to show like what other companies are up against, with Samsung.
The HTC Ultra launch is one of my favorite, I think, ever. Because they announced the thing in January.
It's a
and said it won't release for 2 more months. two months. And then everyone trashed it immediately because it was $750 and on no carrier. And then they finally launched it and didn't even say a word about it. Like it came out, and we've talked about this before, but how you were asking like randomly on Twitter, like, what is up with this? And their communications guy reached out to you on Twitter and was like, it's coming in a few days, guys. And there's still, even a few days later, there was no announcement. Like I think one tweet from their HTC Twitter account said, ship now, shipping or something like that. Like they obviously just completely gave up on that phone, which they should have. They should not have put any money into marketing it because no one was buying it. But yeah, that's one of my favorite launches by far. Just a company completely not giving any two of anything about their own brand new phone and just moving on.
Yeah, we'll see. I talked a little bit about how these pre-order numbers can turn into actual sales. So we'll find out. I don't know what their like quarterlies are on in terms of ours, whether it'll be like their Q2 or Q3 for them. Or maybe it could even be their Q4.
I would
Either way,
imagine in a couple weeks they'll probably give us a number on how many they've shipped.
right.
And obviously not sales. The Samsung likes to do the shipped thing.
Yeah.
And
So it'll be interesting.
yeah.
Either way, I mean, they seem to be on track. To me, at least, this proves that no one cares about the Note 7 stuff. I mean, that was here and then gone. Yeah, everyone makes a joke about it, ha ha ha. But it's over.
We should go back and look at how many people wrote Samsung's going to be so damaged by the Note 7. I'm sure there was like a handful, probably more than a handful of people that really went hard on Samsung for that. Those people usually need to be called. Like when you go mount take with your take, right? You deserve to kind of be shamed a little bit when it's just completely off. And it's same with us. If we make some bold stuff like that, like I think Dex is going to massively flop. If it doesn't, like you should shame me.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as next week goes, I'll just let you guys know right now, we won't have units until probably you guys do. We are not on Samsung's review list and haven't been for years. So probably like Tuesday morning, you're going to see a flood of stuff come out. And if you're wondering where our reviews are, ask Samsung. Maybe that'll get us back on their list.
We're too real.
Apparently too real.
Too real.
So we're with you. We're hoping we get units early shipped from T-Mobile, just like you guys are.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologize for that because I know some of you are waiting for our reviews and our information and all of that stuff before you make a decision. I wish I could help you out before launch day, but
well, we'll be as quick as possible, and we're always reachable. Like if you're waiting and you need to know something immediately, hit us up on the Twitter. And we're very active on the social medias. We're very hip with today's youth. Just
yes, borderline millennial.
Yeah.
Scott asked, "Why won't they send you?" We
We're
don't know. We honestly don't know. Like I think it was Note 4 was about. I remember the Note 4 came out, and like this, like all the reviews for the Note 4 came out, and Tim and I are like, "Wow, the Note 4! We didn't even know that was coming out." And like ever since then, it's just been. We ask. We're media people. We ask, but
we ask. We always ask, and we bug them, but they don't budge.
They do not show us that love anymore. That's for damn sure.
No, they're like straight faced with it too. Like they don't joke about it. Nope. No. Sorry, nothing to share at this time.
Right.
I don't know if any of you guys have ever dealt with like public relations people, but they're a different type of person.
They are a different breed.
Yeah, when they're working, when they're in like work mode, they're just like stone face killers. Great people outside of work. Love PR.
We just need to become YouTubers and influencers or something.
Yeah, here I was thinking I already was an influencer, but apparently not.
Yeah, so they invite us to their events and stuff like that.
That's the courtesy that they provide everybody. So they'll invite anyone and everyone to their events. You have a pulse and like a website with 5 clicks. You can get invited to any event. Yeah. But getting a unit, I actually think it has a bit more to do with like the corporate stuff. Samsung, especially following the Note 7, they're probably looking for a lot of good publicity. And like we said, we like to keep it real. So if something's bad or wrong, we have no problem calling that out. And Samsung, they can afford to be choosy with who they send units to. And if they think they're going to get good press from a site, they'll send it to that site. And if they think they're going to get mediocre, maybe not biased press, then they don't have to provide units. It's really a pick and choose.
They're big enough. Apple does the same thing, right? Like they're the two companies that are big enough that they will get press no matter what. So they can really sort of pick and choose who they want to send stuff to. Exactly. We just got axed right around when the S5 sort of flopped. And I think they looked into how they were dealing with the press, and we got cut off then, and we can't get back in. So again, yes, we will we'll get you all the S8 coverage. Don't worry. It'll just probably be a little later than some of the other sites out there that you may stumble across.
Yeah, just to keep it real for one other thing. I'm gonna bring up a huge YouTuber here, and I may get like hate for this, but this is no disrespect or anything like that. But Casey Neistat, He posted up on the day of the unveiling. I think he posted up something that was called like S8 review or something like that. But like, come on, guys, are you serious? Like, that's not a phone review. Like, he used the thing for 5 minutes, did a video about it, and like he doesn't talk really about. He talks about features, but like, you know, those kind of marquee features. He doesn't really go into details or anything like that. So like, it depends on what kind of review or coverage of a device you want. Do you want someone who's really using the device to give you informed opinions on it? Or do you just want some YouTubers just spouting off about stuff? I love Casey. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, that was not a review by any means. That was just like, that was silliness.
I don't know that I would look at that as was supposed to be a serious review. Like he works with Samsung regularly. I don't want to say he's on the Samsung payroll, and I'm not saying that as like to disrespect the guy, but he's open about the fact that he works with Samsung constantly. So they look for influencers, which he is, and he gets a phone hella early. I mean, he's done commercials with them.
Yeah.
So they just did that, and they use it to build hype. It makes sense from their part. You give it to these influencers that all these people follow and let them hype it. But yeah, like when you throw up, review on the end of that, like anyone else that ever does a Galaxy S8 review on YouTube now is never going to eclipse that, because he did it like 3 weeks ago and will have millions upon millions of views. So in fairness, I think it's crappy, but like I get why Samsung does that stuff.
Let's see how many people are pissed now.
No,
they're all pissed.
I don't think he's anything bad about the dude.
No, of course not.
There's no better way to put it than he's an influencer. And that's like where brands lean these days, right?
I'm cool with influencers, but like, I guess a phone of this caliber has so much to offer in terms of like what it can do. And I just felt like the phone wasn't even really respected all that much from Casey's part. Like, I feel like he said like he got it and then had to do the video. And I guess I was just hoping for much more, right? Because I know the guy enjoys tech. Yeah, he loves the stuff, and I guess I was just hoping for more. I don't know. I'm a hater. I'm a hater.
I just wouldn't worry about it. It's like exactly what I expect. I think he did it with the Note 7 too or something. Same thing. So anyways. So yeah, Galaxy S8 launch is next week. It's going to be a big week. Just our coverage might start a couple days later than some of the other places. And it's just where we're at. We're surviving. Barely.
The struggle is real.
All right. Moving on though. Moto G5 Plus in the house. Review of this up probably fairly soon. Initial thoughts are, well, this thing is, I have the gold version. I mean, this is like the ugliest phone you will ever see anywhere. But the phone in general, though, for the price, like all Moto G phones in the past, are a very nice buy if you're on a limited budget. Performance is great. Software is nice. This thing has a fingerprint reader. I haven't really used the camera too much, but it's, should be the best G camera yet. The only issues are, well, that it is ugly. That's pretty much it.
It's one of the uglier devices I think I've seen in quite some time. It just looks, yeah, I mean, no knock to anyone, but like that thing is ugly.
Yeah, we really need to move far away from the gold phone thing, because gold phone, like this much gold, not good. But the phone overall is really nice. Battery lasts for a really long time. I thought for some reason it was an AMOLED display, but I don't think it is. I think it's an LCD, because the thing lights up like crazy at night. It has micro USB. Come on, Motorola.
2017.
What the hell? Yeah, 2017. You cannot release a phone in 2017 with micro USB. So like, because my whole house is now outfitted with USB Type-C everywhere, because everyone's phones had that for like 8 months. Moto releases this thing. Ridiculous.
I have the same problems with the new Shield TV, the new Shield controller. It's micro USB, and I was like, "What, dude? I gotta dig out a micro USB somewhere in my house to, charge." Ridiculous.
It is kind of ridiculous. So anyway, G5 Plus. I'll probably have a review soon. Really good phone though. It's just ugly. I think the silver black version not so ugly. Just this gold thing, man. It is something. All right, let's see what else. So big story this week actually about Google wanting to invest in LG display, I should say. So OLED panels, obviously the panels we prefer in smartphones. LG happens to make plastic OLED, or flexible OLED is what everyone keeps referring to them as, but they're POLED, they're plastic OLED. So they make those, and they tried to make them for phones a couple years ago with the G Flex, G Flex 2. That stuff died, and then no one bought their panels, I don't think, or they weren't good enough. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it's been a couple of years since they put them in a phone. Where they do use them though is in smartwatches. So most smartwatches that have OLED displays are LGs, and they're sort of that POLED, so they don't break and they're all that stuff. But Google reportedly wants to invest. It's like 876 million. Yeah. So it's close to $1 billion in LG display for them to create OLED panels for smartphones, because everyone's moving towards OLED and Samsung can't keep up because everyone wants to use them, is my guess. Right. So Samsung uses them in their own phones, and they obviously are going to get first dibs. And I believe everyone thinks finally that the iPhone is going to switch to OLED this year, I think. And I think they're probably buying them from Samsung. So if Samsung and Apple have all the OLEDs, there's none left for people like Google, and the Pixel phones have AMOLED displays. And this report, anyway, out of Korea, suggested that the reason Google hasn't been able to keep them on shelves is because there's not enough displays for them. So they want to invest in LG, and they only want to invest. Like, I don't know that LG said, sure, we'll take your $1 billion.
Seems odd.
It seems weird, right? I would love to know why LG just kind of didn't push forward, or why everyone just didn't adopt theirs and have just gone. Obviously, Samsung's panels are awesome, right? Like when Samsung puts a display in something, it looks really great. And the G Flex's displays weren't great by any means. But why do they not continue to push that? It seems like massive moneymaker for them. Like they make OLED TVs and for watches and all of that stuff. I don't know why they sort of abandoned it for smartphones. Either way, Google wants to throw some cash at that.
$1 billion. What I could do with $1 billion? It definitely would not involve making like smartphone displays. I'd buy an island somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. If I had 876 million, I'd just retire.
Bertzer says, I remind him of Wilson from Home Improvement behind that giant mic screen. Dude, I love Home Improvement. Tim the Toolman Taylor was my dude.
It was a classic. It was a classic show.
Changed the subject on you a little bit, but I thought that was a bit more important.
It is really funny. All right. In big carrier news, T-Mobile bought, the Spectrum mother node. Yeah. 600 megahertz Spectrum. FCC was auctioning it off. This week it closed, and T-Mobile bought 45% of the available 600 megahertz Spectrum that was put up. This is low band spectrum. This is nerdy stuff, but this is low band spectrum that penetrates buildings better, and also reaches further from a tower and things like that. So either way, what did they spend? $8 billion to acquire this spectrum. I believe it's band 71, band 72. Somebody in the chat probably knows that. 71, 72. Whoever knows which LTE band it is, let me know. There might be multiple. This stuff is so confusing. Anyway, so they bought all this spectrum, right? So T-Mobile thinks they're going to actually have like a legitimate network now, and they should once they start deploying this. And once Qualcomm, I had mentioned Qualcomm because they're basically the only one now, but once Qualcomm starts outfitting their modems and chipsets with support for this band, which could be a little while, T-Mobile's probably going to be pretty legit in terms of network. And sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, aren't we looking at like end of 2018 for all, like for a customer to actually be getting the goodness of this move?
Yeah, so they're suggesting they can roll out some of it before the end of the year. But again, you need a phone that supports it, and they don't. Even T-Mobile said we don't think our partners are gonna have phones ready until maybe the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little skeptical of that just because this stuff takes so much time to do. And then if Qualcomm's doing it, they have to obviously get it ready. People have to put it in phones, all of that stuff. So either way, though, like T-Mobile puts some maps up and things like that of what their network will be and their coverage and all of that, and it's like it's rivaling obviously Verizon's and stuff like that. So it's going to take some time. Yeah, it might be 2 years before this is all fully realized, or longer than that even, but it's a pretty big deal. I mean, T-Mobile has obviously offered better value, I think, if you're in the city. But we've often complained about like rural areas. They just don't have coverage. They think this will fix that, and it probably should. And if you're in a market, like I'm originally from Montana, right? There's no T-Mobile service in Montana. So there probably will be now, right? So T-Mobile will come in there, and hopefully this means lower prices for everyone because they're competing in all these other markets with Verizon, AT&T, and all that stuff. So like T-Mobile or not, this is a big deal for the wireless industry, I believe, because it should make them legitimate. It just might take a year or two.
It's huge. It's the mother load. I
Mother
saw
load.
someone in the comments section of that post yesterday, I believe it was, say that this could be the final coffin or the final nail in Sprint's coffin. And I thought it was so funny that that's the nail, right? Like that's the one. I feel like there's just been so many nails in that
Sprint's
coffin.
just going to retreat to being like a local mini carrier.
They really
Yeah,
just need
I
to
don't
get
know what this means for Sprint, but
yeah, they need to get acquired, like stat.
yeah, does like T-Mobile even need to buy them now at this point?
No,
Um, yeah, so big deal, right? And
it's
somebody else
huge.
bought some of the spectrum. I think it was like Comcast, and no, maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. A couple other companies bought a little bit. Verizon bought nothing. I think AT&T bought like a sliver. But for the most part, it's T-Mobile. And that's good because T-Mobile, right? Like it would be great for the industry to have a third really, really legitimate carrier. Like I use T-Mobile here in Portland, but like I said, if I go back and visit family and friends in Montana, I can't bring T-Mobile there. Like I have to use. So it'll be
Yes,
nice
but
to have
well, yeah, especially when that new competitor is the uncarrier.
yeah.
And I mean, and a lot of the things, I won't say all of the things, but a lot of the things they do are aimed at making like that customer experience better. So, you can't complain about that. I mean, as a Go phone on user on AT&T, I've benefited from the moves that T-Mobile has made, right? Like I'm getting free data every month, rollover data, all this tethering stuff, all thanks to the stuff that T-Mobile has done. Like my plan initially sucked back in the day. I had like 3 gigs of high speed for $55.
Yeah.
Now I got like 8 gigs and
Yeah.
rollover.
With
Like,
rollover, yeah.
yeah, I'm
And
good to go.
hotspot, all that, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, T-Mobile. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Nice guy.
All right, in related carrier news, Comcast, I mentioned them. They are now a wireless carrier. And they
Gross.
actually offer, yeah, I know it's Comcast. Everyone hates Comcast, and
Uh,
rightfully so.
America's most hated company.
Yes. And they are like every single year too. But they did announce that they will have Xfinity mobile service coming soon, and it uses Verizon's network. So they're an MVNO. They're basically, you could almost consider them a prepaid network, but they're using someone else's
They're
network.
Project Fi.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. In a
fine,
way, they're Project Fi. So they're going to use Comcast hotspots that are all over the country and Verizon's network. So it is sort of similar to a Project Fi experience. And they are offering a couple of deals. So you have to be a Comcast customer, number one. And if you're in their X1 package, the best tier or the highest tier, you can sign up for $45 a month for unlimited data, and you get throttled at 20 gig. But $45 is cheap. Like if you're already fully in the Comcast thing because you don't have any other choices, $45 a line is pretty cheap for unlimited data, and it's Verizon's network. If you're not in the best Xfinity X1 package, it's $65 per month, which is still pretty cheap.
Not that bad. It's Comcast though, guys.
But it's
People
Comcast.
don't give Comcast any more money, please. Like these people are evil lobbyists. They can
Oh, they're the absolute worst.
they're the puppet masters, man. If you got a problem with the system, then you got a problem with Comcast, man.
One thing I will say that's kind of cool that they do is if you're in like one of their big packages or whatever, you can add on the Xfinity Mobile at no cost, and they just give you 5 lines. And so you could have 5 phones and just slap in the SIM card to them, and then it's like a pay-as-you-go thing. But they give you unlimited talk and text at no cost, and then 100 megabytes of data. So like you could give a phone to your kid, and it's like he has a free
It's pretty
wireless, so
awesome.
he could just call and text you or whatever. So it is kind of cool, but yeah, you have to be fully invested in Comcast, and no,
Oh, Comcast.
no Comcast.
Bad Comcast.
Yes.
It's a good deal, if you're already like I say, invested in
Yeah.
Comcast. Like, for a lot of people, Comcast is their only option, which sucks, but it is what it is, man. I mean, I've had Comcast ever since I was a little baby because there's just nothing
There's nothing
better.
else. Yeah, I mean,
So
ever since I've lived here in Oregon, it's the choice. It was either this or like, well, it's CenturyLink now, but CenturyLink's changed names, I think 15 times, and they're crappy DSL, or it was Comcast, actual decent internet. So I haven't had a chance. So I still use Comcast internet. I've canceled everything else from them, and I use PlayStation View for TV. But yeah, like I can't get away from Comcast, and I tried to get CenturyLink's fiber, which I've talked about before, and like I couldn't get it because of the specific location of my house. But
Mm.
so yeah, but if you're a Comcast customer and you have the package, it's going to be hard not to just add on that service.
Why
Like
not? Yeah.
and especially if you're paying for the massive full blown X1 package, $45 a month for unlimited on Verizon's network is a pretty damn good deal. All right, we got our first OnePlus 5 rumor. Do you want to explain the OnePlus 5 story, all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean the whole saga.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot. Like
Okay.
why 5?
Well, Frodo starts off in the Shire, and then all right. So the rumor goes, and this comes from a Chinese publication that specializes in kind of device renders. They'll hear the rumors, hear about the specs, and then create device renders based on the specs that they hear. So and it's called PC Pop. You've probably seen their work around. Anyway, the rumor is currently that we're getting the OnePlus 5 and not the OnePlus 4, simply because 4 is a unlucky number in China. So OnePlus 5, deal with it. Little glasses and the joint comes in and all that. At least for the specs that we've heard so far, we're looking at a 5.5 inch 2K resolution. That's just like a marketing buzzword, 2K.
For Quad HD, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Snapdragon
an upgrade though, because they've been 1080p
1080p since day one. Yes, thank you. So 2K QHD over 1080p. Snapdragon 835 processor, so a newer processor than the LG G6 flagship device,
which they've been pretty on top of newest
They have been.
processors. Yeah.
Yep. A 3000 milliamp hour battery built in, like not removable, and a 23 megapixel rear facing camera, which is quite the bump.
That's stupid.
Yeah, we're talking like 50 megabit pictures.
It'll be f2.2 and it'll be terrible in low lights. Like
it's possible. The big deal though is that so OnePlus may go that LG Samsung route with design, and the phone will have extremely minimal front bezel, meaning a reassignment for where the fingerprint reader is. But unlike the S8, we don't believe, at least from the renders that we've seen, based on what PC Pop heard, is that it's not going to be in some weird spot. It's going to be right in the middle of the back, like you would expect it to be, like on the G6 or the Pixel or any other standard cell phone, unlike the S8, which is not standard at all. It's just weird. However, with all that being said, even though there are going to be possibly going to be minimal bezels on the OnePlus 5, OnePlus is still going to offer the front-facing capacitive buttons, along with the ability to enable on-screen buttons. So anyone who really likes that capacitive button feel, you can still potentially have that in the OnePlus 5. So
hopefully the price isn't jacked up. You know, they're going Quad HD. They've always been pretty cutting edge in terms of processor, but I would hate to see OnePlus jump up to like $500. I like that sort of sweet spot they're doing, just above 400.
We'll see. I mean, these specs, talking about QHD display, it's kind of hard to keep a phone sub 500. Snapdragon 835, when that chip is not easy to come by right now. Samsung has officially snatched up all 835, given that Samsung's the one making the chip. So
yeah, that's going to be one of those storylines to watch for the rest of the year, right? Like the 835 is coming out next week, essentially, on Samsung's phones, and no one else has it. But we think HTC might. LG obviously had to skip it because they needed to get their phone out. OnePlus maybe wants it, although OnePlus isn't selling 20 million phones, so they could probably buy a little lot. But yeah, like, is LG going to have another phone, or are they going to wait till the end of the year to push something else out? Is Motorola going to get 835s? Is Google going to get that, or something else? So it's gonna be something to watch. Like I have this feeling that the 835 is essentially just going to be Samsung's processor. Like that's all that it's going to be able to get made, is however much they need.
Yeah, blame that 10 nanometer crap. Yeah. Did you mention the HTC, the upcoming, the Ocean with the 835 possibly?
Yeah, that's supposed to have it, but again, they need what, like 50,000 chips made or something.
I'm sorry. That's rude.
Oh, come on, no one's gonna buy anything HTC makes ever again.
You know, I'm actually super stoked about the Ocean. Like from the reports and rumors and stuff adding up. Like the Ocean at least has me way interested, more so than the U Ultra did. So we'll see. Because I really liked that U Ultra
Yeah,
look.
well,
It
that's not
was just
saying
too darn
much. Like the
big.
U
I know.
Ultra.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Like I'm actually stoked about the Ocean.
It's
I
all
haven't given
you.
up on HTC completely. I mean, I used to use an HTC all the time. It was just branded as a Pixel and had Google software on
It's
it.
funny
But
how that works. Take HTC's name off something, it
and it's
instantly
awesome.
becomes good. Yeah. Poor HTC.
It happens.
It sure does. We got our first look at what may be the Moto Z2. And yeah, it looks like this. It looks like this. And then on the back, dual camera and then little pins down here. But yeah, Moto Z2. And has dual camera setup, looks really thin. It
Pins for Moto mods.
yeah, pins for Moto Mod. You know, it's one of those things we've talked about this before too, that Motorola essentially has to stick to the same phone design for the next couple of years. Because they said we're going to create all these mods and they're going to work for the next couple of years on your phones. The problem with that is you look at this phone, it just looks like last year's. It's got huge bezels up top and bottom on the front and the sides, you know, like as excuse me, like as LG and Samsung are moving towards display everything, right? Motorola's like, yeah, we'll push the same phone out with like the same display that's got bezel on bezel. So
Super thin though.
yeah, it was and we're stupidly thin, right? Like it was last year.
Is there
put
sorry, I was
more
going to
on.
ask if there was anything on the battery size yet, maybe.
I don't think so. We don't really have rumors on specs. I don't think. What was the regular Z last year in terms of specs? It was a small battery, right?
It was actually large considering how small the phone is, I believe.
I thought the regular one only had like a 2,800 milliamp hour. I thought it was like really
That is
crappy.
pretty darn big
It
for
was
how small the phone
26.
is. It's that phone was like
No, it was. It was
millimeter.
ridiculously thin, but 2,600 milliamp hour with a quad HD display. Like, get out of
Yeah,
here,
it was not
Motorola.
great, but
So it'll probably be the same. And then there'll be a Force that has like some dumb plastic display that's
oh
ugly,
god,
a big battery. I want
not a
Motorola to
fan.
succeed, but this design, by suggesting that they're going to stick with the same mods for 3 years, which I think is a good idea because your consumers will then hopefully invest in this stuff. You got to bring more than this in terms of phone design, like on the front at least. You got to go all display up there.
Too late.
It is just one picture and it could be fake. So
not only that, but it's like the worst picture ever.
yeah, it's like somebody brought it up on a screen and then
took a picture of it and then took a screenshot of that picture.
I think so.
It's pretty bad. It's just super noisy. You can definitely tell how similar it looks to the existing Z.
Yeah, it's gonna have to, right? That's the thing. For 3 years, we're gonna get the same phone with slightly upgraded specs.
Yeah, I got super beef with the fact that on the bottom chin you've got fingerprint reader, then the logo. I mean, think about how big that chin is, man. That's a massive chin. It's crazy.
I already closed it out. Oh yeah, it does say Moto down there. So like this one says Moto up top.
Yeah, as it should maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just no.
No Motorola. Silly.
Scott asking, Moto just make a phone that doesn't look stupid. Dude, it's been a few years since I think they put out like, you know what? I don't think it's stupid. Like I think it's different, right? And I think that's all very subjective.
Yeah, like last year's Moto Z, I thought it
looked cool.
Different enough that it was cool looking. Like yeah, the front was a little off with this like square fingerprint reader that was crooked. But the backside, it was doing something different. It was stupidly thin and all that stuff, but at least it was different. This one, I don't know. And like when you see the design of this thing, you kind of just go, "Uh-oh, where are you going, Motorola? Where are you going?"
That thing is the one you're just holding. The G5. It's ugly, man. It's like it's got like rounded bubbliness to it, but there's still a camera hump.
Trim around here. I don't even know what that is.
Why is there a camera hump on a phone that's like 15 millimeters thick?
Yeah, because it's not a super thin device. But yeah, see, it's even curved. Like,
oh yeah, man.
It's ugly. It's like a step back in time to back when phone design was really bad.
It is. It's very kind of you to review that phone. I probably would have just said, nah.
I like Moto G phones. This one's just ugly.
Well, I know you've been talking. You won't shut up about the Snapdragon 625 and the battery life.
Love me some Snapdragon 625 in battery. God, you just
Yeah.
can't beat it. I just don't understand how Qualcomm can make a Snapdragon 625 and put it in a Motorola phone and the phone lasts for 2 days and no one else can do this. Why is it that these two can? Because yeah, this phone, it only has a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, I think. And when you compare it to the Z Play, which is what you're talking about that I did earlier this week, that thing had like a 38 or something or 3,600 milliamp hour battery. So but both of them last over a day. No other phone does that. And the performance on these things is fine. Obviously, it's not the highest end thing. I'm gonna be gaming and stuff like that on it, but full day battery life. We're talking like 36-hour battery life. Legit too, not taking a break here and there.
Airplane mode on and all that.
Yeah, all day, just airplane. It lasts like 2 days, dude. Ridiculous.
Oh, people.
Le Echo.
Oh, the Echo.
They had a bad week.
Really?
They've had a bad few months, I would say.
Gosh.
They are the Le Echo is no longer buying Vizio. It was
Oh,
a
no.
$2 billion deal. They who did they blame it on? They blamed on regulatory headwinds, which is code for we're broke as shit. I mean, like, come on. We all know it's been well documented that they're struggling with cash. I don't think regulatory headwinds really had anything to do with you not being able to afford Vizio.
Yeah, seems odd. I mean, no
But
one's
they-
ever had a problem with a.
U.S.
Sorry.
employees.
Yeah.
They sold off their property that they bought from Yahoo like a month ago. There was a story that they couldn't pay people, but you and I are kind of skeptical about the whole logistics there. Like it says, like they were having issues getting the money from China, which I think probably is a legitimate issue, maybe. But either way, it doesn't look good. But this definitely doesn't look good. This was supposed to be a big purchase for them, right? Buying Vizio.
It was going to be huge. It was going to be sort of that beachfront of its campaign into the U.S. market. And, you know, they say, hey, this isn't the end of Vizio and Le Echo. We're going to partner with stupid stuff like bringing our
It's the
crappy
end.
content onto Vizio sets and bringing Vizio sets into China. And, oh, man, what a cluster.
This is the end, Leco. Yeah.
Well, it's the end of their stay, I think, in America. They tried to buy their way in, and unfortunately, their smartphones totally sucked.
Do they have any executives left that they had on stage when they did their big song and dance like a few months ago?
Oh, there's no way. They've all gone.
And the thing is, like, they were executives from like, Qualcomm, Samsung. They were like big name
Tesla.
dudes. And they're all gone now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I had high hopes, right? Because they were all about bringing like high-end specs or good hardware at an affordable price, and anyone can get behind that. It was just their money management was wrong, and they bit off way more than they can chew. They were talking about Android-powered bikes, huge TVs that stretch a mile that cost only $500. It's just
that stuff's still not available, right? You can't buy that bike yet, can you?
no. Of course not,
Never
dude. I would be writing it right now.
Cool. Yeah, it was actually kind of cool.
It was
on
just-
their website.
It was just too much. So they're probably going to retreat a little bit, maybe regroup. Because obviously whatever they were
They definitely need to
doing
retreat. Yeah.
yeah, in China it works just fine. There's billions of dollars in this company. So whatever they do works. Maybe just re-strategize, maybe find a new team. I mean, well, they already sold whatever property they had in America. So
Yeah, they're not building here anymore. They've laid off people. It's not a good situation for Leco.
yeah, it's not a good look. And there was like talks about what was this? Well, when they laid off so many people, they didn't properly notify their employees as to like how many were being laid off, right? There's a law where if you lay off a certain amount of people, you have to notify your employees. And apparently they maybe didn't notify.
This was an anonymous tip, by the way. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And so there could be more coming from all of this, but either way, it's not a good time for Leica.
Yeah, no, definitely not a good start. Not the start they were hoping, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, Star Wars trailer. Do we have time for a quick Star Wars trailer? The new Star Wars trailer, The Last Jedi, first teaser trailer is out. You
And
should
it's
probably all
awesome.
go watch it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, if any of you guys have thoughts on the trailer, throw it down in the chat, and we can just sort of like roll off of that. My first thing was that, so I tweeted out like pretty quickly. I was like, okay, well, whatever you see in this trailer may not end up in the final film, because we saw that with a little bit of Force Awakens and a little bit of Rogue One, where like these trailers are freaking awesome.
Well, Rogue One, they had to reshoot a bunch of that, I think, didn't they? Because it was terrible the first time around.
Hey man, that's not my problem as like the viewer, but I get super stoked on these trailers. They look awesome. You've got Mark Hamill talking about stuff. You've got the Princess Leia's back. It's like, oh man, what I'm just super stoked on it. I loved Force Awakens. I wasn't like huge fan of Rogue One, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, Rogue One's fine. Kind of boring, but it's fine.
Kind of boring except for the last 5 minutes.
Force Awakens not boring.
Yeah.
Force Awakens awesome.
It was awesome. So I'm stoked.
This is a good hype trailer. Like they show so much. Got Millennium Falcon in there. Got Rey training, lightsaber, everything.
She was training hard, man.
Yeah, she was.
I love Rey.
She's great.
She's awesome.
No one in the chat wants to talk about Star Wars. You guys need to go watch this.
Apparently, they must be like 10 minutes behind us.
Yeah, at this point, our stream probably cut off like 20 minutes ago, and they're just done.
We're just talking about nothing.
We're just talking about nothing.
That's good. Well, hey, if no one wants to talk about it, that's cool.
We'll wrap.
Next week's gonna be awesome.
Next week should be fun. Should be great. Yeah, Galaxy S8. Have you guys pre-ordered them? Let us know what you think once you get them. Let us know if your stuff ships. It's always fun to talk about that excitement, those early releases. Gina asks, why does she need to train? What? She was just her skills were just pure rawness in the first one.
Yeah, see, she could have turned right at that point, right to the dark side. It was good on her. However, I first saw her train, I was like, what the F, man? Like, she's way too old to begin the training. Like, like what Yoda would say anytime that someone said, oh, he should be a Jedi. It's way too old. And she's what, 20?
Anakin was like still in the womb, and Yoda's like, he's too old.
Too old. See, I don't know why Rey gets special treatment from Luke, but
Luke did too, though. He was super old when he started, so it's fine. Dude. Yoda, just go away, Yoda. You don't know what you're talking about, Yoda.
All of these people are in danger of turning to the dark side, though, obviously, because they're all too damn old. They're too exposed. True. Either way, I'm super. I can't even say how excited I am enough times.
It's gonna be awesome.
Except it's December, right? Like, what is it? April?
Yeah,
dude, the world is going to end before this movie comes out, people. It's good knowing you all, but it's over for us.
Speaking of the world ending, because people are like, what's Donald Trump doing back there? He's just chilling. He's just chilling.
Yeah, leave Trump alone, right? He gets enough attention from everyone. He's just here hanging out because I don't judge him.
He's only half in the screen today, though. So I think people are like, well.
I know, I had to move him a little bit. But
he's on his way to the golf course. He's just halfway out that door.
See, he's halfway out the door. Oh, good one, man.
Good times. All right, we'll quit that before you guys get mad at us. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for joining. Unless you have anything else. You got anything else?
No, I got nothing. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. And yeah.
Tune in Sunday, 12:30 Pacific to watch the Blazers start their sweep of the Warriors.
I thought we were going to win in 6 games. It was Blazers in 6, right?
Nah, just straight sweep. I'm going straight sweep.
All right, straight sweep. Here we come.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. This was episode 139. We'll be back next week. So much going on next week. It's gonna get... All right.
Peace.